Welcome to Aggie Talk. I'm your host, Patrick Figueroa. I'm here with Myles Roach and Michael Quo. How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Doing pretty good, Patrick. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. We got some pretty big topics in sports that we'd like to talk about. Start one of the biggest news drops that we've probably had in a while. The Supreme Court ruled against the NCAA and the way they were treating college athletes with not allowing them to profit off their name, image, and likeness. The Supreme Court ruled against that, I believe, 8-1, and now they are starting July 1st, which was about a week ago or so. College athletes are now able to, use their name, image, and likeness to make some money. Pretty big news. It's huge in terms of being more fair towards college athletes. And I mean, what are some of your guys' thoughts on it?
8-1 in a pretty conservative court is pretty amazing. This shows just how bad the NCAA is and how stupid the whole not paying athletes was. So I think it's about time. It's long overdue, but it's a good first step in the right direction and making sure these athletes are fairly compensated for their contributions to these universities and to the NCAA.
Yeah, I think if you read the justices on the conservative side, it's pretty striking. Like Kavanaugh and Thomas saying, like the NCAA's business model is like stuck in the Stone Ages. Like you can't get away with obviously having coaches making tens of millions of dollars, athletic directors making millions, and TV corporations profiting to the tune of billions of dollars off of March Madness and NCAA football. Like how can you justify not even letting players make their own deals? And I think the next step here is we need to have an actual pay athletes for their work reform, and you're not just saying, oh yeah, you come to practice and you go to the games and you go on these traveling trips and all this stuff, but you don't get paid for that. All you get paid for is what you can market yourself to other businesses to be in certain ads or stuff. To me, that's still a fundamental injustice. And I think I'd hope to see there's some legislation passed in the U.S. Congress to get some implementations of, paying athletes for their work. But we'll see. Maybe it'll have to come from the court again.
Yeah, I'm with you there 100%, but I don't know how they're going to do that on a nationwide level, especially when you got schools like you saw this year with like all those small schools at NCAA, the tournament, March Madness. How could they afford to pay some of these players? Like even like something above minimum wage. Even federal minimum wage, like that would be like a minimum. But even then, like, is it enough? Would I rather just take scholarship money at that point? Like, I want to see how they do it. And like, I'm totally with you. They should be paid, but like on a nationwide level, that's so complicated. It's one thing to let them profit on their own, but to like make it a standard thing, it's gonna be a whole other fight. And it's just again one step towards getting these people paid.
Yeah, I echo your guys' thoughts. That's definitely something we're gonna have to look for as the next step. I don't know if you saw De'Aaron King basically coming out and star quarterback for Miami Hurricanes basically coming out and saying like he was going to be splitting some of what he makes with his team, which is nice and all, but it's also like, I don't think a player should have to be worrying about doing that because, they're all, they're all teammates and, they're all, they all should really be equal and be getting treated the same, but there's definitely a lot more work to be done. But I do think there's some good things to take away from this. Just thinking about all the famous athletes like, the Joe Burrows, the Tim Tebows, the Johnny Manziels, even like a guy like Reggie Bush who, they would have made they should have made a lot more than they should have made something, right? Like they didn't make anything and they now have that opportunity. Just seeing some players like Kayvon Thibodeau, a guy you're going to have to look out for. And this next year's draft class, he's working with Nike now, which is really cool to see. And like one of my favorites that I saw was the Arkansas offensive line. They got sponsored by a barbecue place. So, I think that's a good thing to look at, a little bit of a positive. Yeah, there's more work to be done, but at least for now we could we can be glad that we got rid of something that was completely corrupt and unjust.
Yeah, I think, Michael, you bring up a really good point regarding, well, if we have a nationwide pay your players rule, how are the small schools going to pay for it? So I think I have two responses to that. I'll get to them quickly. The first one is I could see practically, like the players of the Power 5 schools unionizing and saying, look, we go to schools that can afford it and that have conferences with massive multi-million-dollar TV deals that, yeah, just pay us from that, guys. Like, maybe the athletic director will have to take a bit of a pay cut and the coaches might have to take a bit of a pay cut, but they're not the ones playing. So I think in a practical world, I could see that developing. And you saw the Pac-12 student athletes, organizing around the pandemic earlier. So it's not too pie in the sky to think about. But in a real, like, utopian, radical, crazy Myles way of thinking, I think if you institute nationwide pay your players, yeah, it might lead to a lot of schools being like, we can't afford this. Maybe athletics aren't the best way to be spending money at our school. And I think that's, quite frankly, a conversation we need to have. Just thinking about how many dollars go in education to football, lacrosse, all these sports to, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're most of the time launching professional careers. It seems most of the time like you're giving these kids like a last bit of the glory days from high school at an upper level, which is cool, but at the expense of not having, small class sizes or being able to pay your TAs and stuff like that. I don't know. I think education needs to reevaluate its priorities. And I think this decision was a first step towards maybe that happening, but it's more likely that, the small schools will get away with not paying their players, but the bigger schools' players will organize some way of getting justly compensated.
I could be wrong, but didn't California have a model set up to pay their players, or was that like part of the legislation was to pay their players?
I think their thing was they did the NIL thing. They tried to do it before it became federally legal, but I could be wrong. They could have done something with pay their players too. That's interesting to look up because I know the bill did pass, right?
Yeah, it did pass.
I don't know if it was supposed to come in effect later though. Like, I don't know if it was supposed to be coming in like, I think I remember 2023 of like a year like.
I think that sounds right.
I remember like Gavin Newsom going on the shop to signing that. So I think that I've seen that before, but I now think it's in effect now across the nation. So, there's that. Any other thoughts on the situation?
I just looked it up, and it's the same thing as the NIL, and
Okay.
It's going to start in 2023.
Okay. Well, if that's for the NIL talk, we can now get into another situation that's happening with the U.S. Olympics and runner Sha'Carri Richardson basically being suspended for testing positive for marijuana. And I believe it was a 1-month suspension, and she was not selected to run the 4x100. She wasn't selected to the team to run the 4x100 relay race. And I mean, a lot of people have spoken out against it, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on it as well.
We're talking about Stone Age level thinking with the NIL. Same thing. Stone Age, we're so past that now. The Olympics, the ICC is so behind on the times. They don't understand what's happening. They can't even they can't manage steroids and PEDs, but they can do a great job at like getting people out of the Olympics for weed. And then they do this thing where they announce that you still can't make political gestures at the Olympics, even though it's the international event, which I think is so dumb because like it's this platform and you're just denying these athletes who, let's be honest, track athletes don't usually get a platform to make any kind of a statement, or any of these sports like swimmers, right? They don't get a platform. This is the one chance every 4 years they get to make a statement and they deny them again. So ICC is just like the Sha'Carri thing is just another thing, just showing how behind they are and how that committee just needs radical change. They are just so out of touch.
Yeah, I think it's a shame that we're still living in 2021 in the same like marijuana reefer madness days of the 10s, 20s, and 30s when it really starts. Cannabis was used as a medicinal tincture and drug uh, in the non negative connotation way, just the normal like medicine throughout American history up until it starts becoming a potential threatening product to William Randolph Hearst, the owner of the largest newspaper companies in the country. And once hemp becomes a competitor to his cheap paper, he vilifies cannabis as this, crazy drug that is going to make a bunch of people of color come over and steal our white women in order to rationalize putting draconian restrictions on it. And the idea that we're still living with that today, we as a society haven't come to the realization yet that this is a harmless, mostly plant that actually has lots of medical benefits for people. And especially like Sha'Carri Richardson said, when she found out her mother died, it can be a coping mechanism and it is a coping mechanism for millions of people, including myself. So like, we need to start coming clean. I think I saw a WNBA player came out and was just like, I use cannabis as a tool to help my body recover after basketball games and endurance workouts, also for my mental state, to help me relax, help me go to sleep, things like that. Like, we need to be real about this now. We can't let people get away with their old, like Michael said, Stone Age way of thinking about this. It's really time for things to change. And I'm hoping by 2024, Sha'Carri Richardson will be running in the 100 meters and will be smoking up after she wins the gold medal.
Yeah, it's just so unfortunate. It totally invalidates the event for me too. Like, she's the fastest woman on the planet and you're just not going to allow her to be there. It's just like, what's the point of even watching this event now? Because it's not even the Olympics at that point. You're not having the best athletes out there. So from a product standpoint, what a horrible decision. And two, I saw some talking head, I forgot which one. He was trying to say the point about how weed is like a PED because it makes you get over your stress and anxiety and helps you recover. And I'm like, dude, you could just like Vicodin and stuff like that, and that's totally legal. So why are we having this conversation? If that's what people are arguing for it, against it for it, like, come on, this is just the kind of people you're fighting with this kind of thinking.
Should we ban IVs because they help you overcome dehydration?
Yeah, oxygen masks, stuff like that. Like, it's the same concept.
Like, come on. I honestly think we just need to have the conversation that ICC, like you said, Michael, terrible at regulating any sort of steroid abuse until usually after the fact. So why don't we just have a rational 21st century drug policy that says, yeah, you can use them if you use them safely and you have your medical personnel of your team and have Olympic committee, ICC, like medical personnel also ensuring that they're being used properly. So it levels the playing field. I mean, I know a lot of athletes are fundamentally opposed to doing things like that. So that in many ways could be a difficult issue to bring up here. But I think we're already in a de facto legal state for it. So many people are already doing it. Why are we keeping up the facade that, having these restrictions in place is going to keep the game pure? It's just completely false.
I agree. I mean, there's still a crazy stigma around marijuana, like you're saying, Myles, since it's been talked about. And then, I mean, the 1910s, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I also think the Usain Bolt has openly admitted to using marijuana, come on, like, it's just a little ridiculous. It's still like what you've been saying, Michael, Stone Age thinking that they're trying to use in the 21st century, which it's outdated, and there does need to be some sort of change with the rule. I'm honestly surprised Sha'Carri she took her punishment very easily. I mean, I thought, she had a lot of support. I figured that she'd use that to fight back, but I mean, we don't know with what else I don't know. Like, there could be something, but I really doubt it. It just seems like she didn't want to oppose because it might ruin her chances in the future or something, but that we would hope that doesn't happen. But
she also runs for like LSU, so I wonder how they're going to respond to this. She's only a sophomore, I think, so I feel like she's got 2 more years there.
Well, here's the crazy thing, though, right? Like, I don't know where she was at when she smoked, but it technically could have been a legal act in, that state of this country because we have such, you know, just quite frankly, incomprehensible marijuana legislation where the federal government bans it and says it's a Schedule I drug, so it technically has no medical purposes. And yet their own federal government has programs in place to study marijuana's medical benefits. So you can't really square that circle. I think it's just that every day that goes by that we don't have weed legalized nationwide and worldwide, quite frankly, is a travesty to all the people that are still locked up for it and all the people that still have this unfortunate stigma attached to it, which is just completely untrue.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, in the South, we don't like a school like LSU. We don't even know what could happen there. Hopefully, again, I do like though that other athletes were speaking out for like just trying to give her support. That's what a lot of people again like. It's why I'm surprised she didn't at least try to I don't appeal it. But yeah, like just a crazy situation. Any other thoughts you guys want to let out on it?
Just sucks.
Okay, that sums it up the best, Myles. So that sometimes it just takes 2 words. Well, now one of the bigger things that happened in this past week was the MLB recently let out their all-star team, or the all-star starters, the all-star reserves, the pitchers, the relievers. Any big thoughts on that, you guys?
I'm so happy. This is like the one time of the year I get to be happy watching baseball. I got Jared Walsh to make it. I knew Shohei and probably Trout were going to make it, but I got Jared Walsh on there too. I'm interested to see how Shohei pitches and hits. I don't know how they're going to do that, but I'm excited.
Yeah, with a guy like Shohei, and any time you get to see the guy and like just being able to see him go play in Colorado where he's going to hit nukes, it's going to be a ton of fun. What about you, Myles?
Yeah, it was nice to see DeGrom get another All-Star nod, although he won't be pitching because he wants to spend time with his family and rest up, which can't fault him for that. So nice to see that. But, yeah, honestly, looking at a lot of these, there's a lot of new names here that I'm not necessarily all too familiar with. So it's exciting to see baseball having a new infusion of talent that fans can get accustomed to playing in the All-Star game.
100%. I just think that as a whole, there were some snubs, of course, but it's still a pretty solid list. We also got the Home Run Derby, which all 8 participants have been announced with Juan Soto and who else joined today?
Gallo, I think.
Yeah, Joey Gallo. 2 big power hitters also that are going to be hitting there. And again, it's Coors Field, so that ball is going to be flying. Any who you guys think is going to win that? Or any
Obviously
snubs?
biased, so it's going to be Ohtani. I'm sure Myles is also biased, so it's not the 2 people you should be asking for this event.
Yeah, it's going to be the polar bear, Pete Alonso.
Do you think he repeats? I don't know.
Pete's got to repeat. It's in his name. I don't know, honestly. Yeah, I saw he has like some cool specialized bats for it, which seems pretty cool. But who knows? The Home Run Derby is some guys just have it some days, and the person's throwing them the pitch right within their sweet spot, and sometimes it's just guys go up there and give it like a couple of hacks at it. They're like, I don't want to ruin my swing.
I hope MLB uses some juice balls. We get some guys using cork bats and this ball just flying, like who cares? Yeah. We're not here to see guys hit like 10 homers. I'm here to see like hit 20 around. Like,
yeah, I still remember the Josh Hamilton Home Run Derby when he just went absolutely bonkers. Like, that was crazy. We'll never forget that moment because this dude just keeps banging him over and over again.
Definitely. Also shout out Trey Mancini, who wasn't playing last year because of colon cancer, I believe, and now he's in the Home Run Derby, also having a really good season. So he's gonna be another guy you want to root for. For all we know, this may be maybe Trevor Story's last time in Colorado before the trade deadline. So
God bless. Hopefully.
I mean, if that happens, who knows? Maybe he puts on a show for Colorado, then leaves to. I mean, we don't know where, but
for the sake of his career, he needs to get out of that. team.
Yep. Again, it's gonna be a ton of fun seeing this. Again, Coors Field. It's that elevation really does help them hit the ball really far. And like you guys were saying, let's get some juice balls, a cork bat. Let's make it fun, man. Like, I mean, I don't get why they don't do that. They should have it like that, where you could just, again, like there's gonna be people there and wanting to catch some homers, and it's gonna be a ton of fun. So there's that. And as of MLB, we're right now, I believe, at the halfway point. The standings, we got a really tight NL West. I know that. Like, I believe the Dodgers only a game and a half behind there. Who do you guys think emerges from the NL West? Because I think they'll probably all make the playoffs, but who would you say is probably going to be the first place by the end of the season?
That's so tough. The Giants somehow defied all expectations and held on for this long. They're only a half a game up. I'm checking ESPN now. I think the Dodgers are finally going to overcome their injuries and take first. Because as much as we all hate to admit it, they're probably the best team in baseball. Padres are really good too, but it's so hard to hate. It's hard to argue against the Dodgers being a really good team. Sorry, Ryan, wherever you are, but it's a good team. And congrats to the Giants for making it halfway through the season at first. I just don't see them ending the year at first.
Yeah, the Dodgers have the best run differential in the National League. I think with the injuries they're considering too, that's kind of crazy. So I'd still back them. It is unfortunate to see the Trevor Bauer situation. He was accused of sexual assault and now is probably not going to pitch again until that criminal situation gets handled. So once again, not nice to see MLB players and just generally athletes involved in sexual assault issues like that. And hopefully our society can start dealing with these things better than they initially did. They kind of had to be forced into putting him on admin leave. They wanted him to start initially. So that's tough to see, but I still think without Bauer, the Dodgers are still a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be a huge blow to their pitching staff, though. I still want to root for the Padres. Give Ryan, Ryan's probably at the Padres game right now, but, they're a ton of fun to watch, and we got to see them in the postseason. If they just go to the wild card and say they lose that'd be such a disappointment and a huge blow to baseball if that were to happen. I really hope they can finish out in first and not have to, play in the wild card. So just because I want to see them make a run because, they're a really fun team, especially when their bats are on, As for the AL East, we got 4 teams above 500 there with the Red Sox and a 2.5-game lead over the Rays. Blue Jays in third, and then the Yankees, I believe a half a game behind the Blue Jays. The Orioles are kind of like bottom feeders. But,
Oh, yeah. Orioles are horrible.
But what are you guys thinking there? Do you think the Rays have been slipping a little bit, but do you think the Red Sox can hold this pace?
I think Red Sox hold it. Rays have been, especially without Glass now, have really been slipping. That's the Cy Young winner potentially gone. I think Yankees are done. I think this deadline will be very interesting for them. I hope they sell because this team's not very good. But I think Boston does hold on. They've been a really good team. They're, I hope Angels are winning the series currently, but I still think the Red Sox are a good team.
Yeah, the Red Sox are definitely. And it's kind of weird because everything I was hearing was how they sold their whole team, and yet no one could have predicted that they had this type of success with, after selling most of their team and guys like that you usually want to build your team around, like a Mookie Betts, and just seeing how they're still raking no matter who they go, no matter who goes out there. They got a good infield with Bogarts and Devers. JD Martinez is still a great DH, so they're still a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they got power all the way through 1 through 6, 1 through 7 sometimes. I mean, it's a tough lineup. It's a tough lineup to get through.
Yep. Any thoughts, Myles, on that, or do you just want to go to maybe another division?
I just think it's cool to see the Yankees as a Mets fan just having a season from hell, and all their fans are just super pissed. and just absolutely done with Aaron Boone and just all of the players on the team. So, yeah, I think it'll be really surprising if they do sell at the deadline because you don't really ever hear of that happening. So I don't know. We'll see. I think I like the Rays. I like their chances of catching the Red Sox, but the Red Sox have been putting a lot of people on notice. So I think it'll be a good division to watch.
Yeah, I don't want to say like I don't like the Rays. I love the Rays. I think they're a fun team. It's just they have been slipping, and losing Glass now is like huge. Just that big arm.
Yep, major blow to the Rays and their pitching staff. I mean, but at least they do have Wander Franco, and he's been struggling a little bit, but he's still an exciting player to watch. As for the AL Central, the White Sox seem to be really running away with this one. 8 games ahead of the Cleveland baseball team. We'll just call them that. Get ahead of the curve. Really, those are the only 2 teams. I mean, even then, the Cleveland baseball team they're at 500. So it seems like the White Sox, no matter really what happens, are probably going to be all right, even with some of the injuries they face. Because the Tigers, Royals, and Twins, who have been a major letdown, are all below 500. So what do you guys think about the White Sox and their odds maybe of like, you think are they going to be a big force in the playoffs when that eventually happens?
I don't think they're better than the Red Sox, but I think they can make some noise.
Yeah, I mean Lance Lynn apparently news to me that he's having a resurgent year, but that's good for him. I'm surprised. What's his face? Terry Francona is not Terry Francona. Tony La Russa. Sorry for besmirching the name of Terry Francona. Tony La Russa. I just don't think he really is the manager for the modern game, but they're going to win their division likely, so you can't really argue with that result.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of still upset with Tony La Russa for ruining your Mercedes. I mean, after that homer, it's been downhill, and he got sent down to AAA.
Yeah.
I mean,
he had option. That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you got to make sure you have a guy that really fits your culture. The AL West, we kind of got a little bit of a 2-headed race here with the Astros and the Athletics. I mean, maybe not. It's a 4-headed race,
It's
right?
a 4-headed
Michael?
race. What are you talking about? We're in it.
Yeah, the Mariners are in 3rd place. I mean, there's four teams above 500 in this division. The Angels in 4th. Rangers again, bottom feeders. But I mean, let's be honest here. It's probably going to be between the Astros, who, I mean, they look like they probably didn't need to cheat that year, but
Everyone knew that, and they still did it. So
yeah, and then the Athletics, who are 4.5 games, having a little bit of a slip, but I mean, again, it should still probably be them 2 at the end. So, any thoughts on this?
I don't know what you're talking about. The Angels have navigated somehow, having no outfielders for like a month stretch now. We've not had Upton or Trout for I think over a month at this point. Basically, playing with guys like Lagarce and Ward and out in the outfield and somehow winning games. So I think once you get these guys back, Rendon is back on the IL. That guy can't stay healthy and can't hit with any kind of power right now. So hopefully when these guys get healthy, we can make a little bit run over 500. Like I think we're 2 games up right now over 500. So we've somehow navigated having one of the worst pitching, one of the worst bullpens and one of the worst starting rotations. And we somehow are above 500 right now. So I have faith when guys come back.
Yeah.
I don't think the Angels. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was just saying, they're a fun team to watch. So hopefully they can make it interesting in the second half. Go ahead, Myles.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be sellers because they have too many stars on their team now to like get away with that. So I do in fact think that some of the teams ahead of them right now probably will be sellers, like the Mariners. They seem like they're due for a regression. We'll see about the Yankees, like we mentioned before. But who knows? The Blue Jays start slipping. I mean, their run differential is really good, but their record isn't too hot. But it'll be interesting to watch. The AL West, it's nice to see it rival the NL West for once in in a good division matchup.
You say the Mariners are regressing. That's just like typical Mariners at this point of the year. It's just somehow they're just so good in the first half and then awful second half.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be a team you want to see if they're probably going to sell because they do have some pieces that could be interesting, but who knows? I mean, it's again it's an interesting division. I mean, they got some fun teams in there, like especially the Angels. You hope that they could get better once Mike Trout is back, but that's something we're gonna have to keep on seeing. The NL East, looking like the NFC East from what I'm seeing. I mean, only one team above 500, and I think the Mets are still catching up on games, right? Like they're still playing some double headers to catch up after a little bit of a chaotic beginning of the season, but behind them are now the Phillies. It feels like it's a new team every week that's caught up. But I mean, the Braves are right behind the Phillies, and I mean the Braves and the Nats are both half a game behind the Phillies, and the Marlins again 9 games behind first place. So, I mean, you want to give us some Mets talk, Myles?
Yeah, I just think it's funny the Marlins have the worst record but the best run differential, which goes to show you like this division is just the bottom feeders of the league, and they're just getting lucky off of each other. I think I've watched the Mets play quite a bit. They look, I mean, pretty good considering how many injuries they've had to deal with. They're starting to get guys back. Conforto, McNeil, JD Davis should be back soon. They did lose Dylan Betances for the year, so the bullpen takes another hit. But I think if they, use the All-Star break to get healthy, I think Carrasco should be back soon. Maybe Syndergaard too. All of a sudden, you're looking at a potential contender just based on that pitching staff. If they can throw out Stroman, Syndergaard, DeGrom, and Taijuan Walker, who's been pitching really well this year, and then throw Carrasco in the bullpen long relief or something. I think they could make some noise. Obviously, they're not the most talented or most likely team to make noise in the National League, but they're probably gonna. I'd hope they make a move at the deadline, just because Steve Cohen likes to talk a big talk about paying for a winner. But we'll see. It's not the worst situation they've been in over the past couple of years, so I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I think the Mets are in a good place, but the 3 teams behind them have no excuse to be this bad. I think like Phillies, you see how much they spent the past couple of years. Same thing with the Braves. Nationals were winners 2 years ago. Like you have no excuse to be all of them under 500 right now.
Yeah, I mean, but while we are on, like, I guess a little bit of some interesting facts about each team that I've seen. The Phillies, they're apparently on a historic, like, their bullpen has basically been historically bad this year. Like, they've blown so many saves, like, it's actually ridiculous. Like, it's kind of funny because I've been watching them a few times and just seeing, like, how they can't close the game out. I mean, the Nationals, I don't know if you guys saw the run that Kyle Schwarber was on. Shame that he got injured, but became one of the few players in MLB history that I think I might be flipping the numbers around, but I believe it was 17 home runs in a 15-game stretch, or it was the other way around.
I think that sounds right. But yeah, he was on an incredible stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame he got hurt, but that was kind of powering the Nationals back, and now they lost him, and it's just who knows what's happening there. And the Braves, I think they're literally winless in games to get above 500. I think they're 0-6 or something like that. And then when they have a chance to go above 500, they're literally 0-6. They haven't won a single game. One of them they lost because of a walk-off against the Phillies, which that was the Luke Williams game. I don't know if you saw that one. The Luke Williams, he was like on Team USA, and the Phillies called him up. So, and he ended up hitting a walk-off homer in his first.
Yeah. I saw that.
It was pretty cool, but I mean, the Braves are a team that's just like, I mean, I also want to kind of mention this. Like, I don't know how Freddie Freeman made the All-Star team as a starter. Like, he hasn't been that good this year, and like, he still made it. So that would just kind of have me, scratching my head. But
Well, it's name recognition. Like,
Who do you think should have replaced him?
I would have probably went Muncy. I know I don't think the
They're
Dodgers
hitting
had.
really well.
Yeah, Muncy's been on fire. I think it also had to do a little bit of the timing of the injury. Like Muncy got hurt around like the All-Star ballot was in progress, so it definitely like I think hurt his chances a little bit. And a lot of people just want to vote for Freeman, but hey,
Yeah, but I mean, Muncy still made it. He just didn't make it as a starter, which
yeah,
I think it's just the popularity contest of Freddie Freeman just being that name that's been around for seemingly a decade now, right? Like people just know who Freddie Freeman is.
yep, that's true. Lastly, the NL Central. The Brewers seem to be running away with it with a 5.5 game lead on the Reds. I don't know if you saw the Cubs. The Cubs are really making it look interesting, and I believe they're on an 11-game losing streak after they had a combined
Yeah.
no-hitter against the Dodgers. Like, it's pretty bad, and the Cardinals, they've been really bad as of late. The Brewers look pretty legit, and what's your thoughts on this division, y'all?
Yeah, if the Brewers blow it somehow, what a disappointment. I mean, no one else really looks that great in that division. Like you said, the Cubs somehow have lost 11 in a row after that game, which is insane to me. Um, I I don't think anyone else here is good enough to challenge the Brewers right now.
Yeah, it's I would agree. It seems like it's the Brewers division. Nice to see the Reds putting together a reputable season, though. Jesse Winker's having himself a year, so shout out to them.
Yeah, and I like the Reds. They're a fun team with Winker and Castellanos. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Castellanos memes on Twitter lately, but they've taken over the internet. Again, if there's a sad event, Castellanos is going to hit it deep left field. So, I mean, it's just it's a pretty interesting one. But yeah, I agree with the Brewers. They made a trade for Willie Adames earlier in the year, and I mean that has seemed to work wonders. I was listening to a podcast, and basically Willie Adames was talking about like how he couldn't see the ball when he was at the Trop, like he literally couldn't see it, and that's why his home road splits were so like different. So like him getting traded to the Brewers, he's just been hitting nukes, and I mean, good for that guy. He seems like a really cool guy. So overall, pretty interesting division. You were gonna say something, Myles, or?
No, I was just gonna say it's nice when professional athletes go on podcasts now, and I feel like show people like a different side of them rather than like the normal, press interview. Whoa, what did you do well this game? I feel like you can. Like I watched Rajon Rondo on All the Smoke, and he was just like straight up cussing, talking about, man, only two teams wanted to sign me. It was the Lakers and the Pelicans, and I just went with the Lakers, and all of a sudden I won a championship. Like, it's really cool. So nice to hear the MLB players are doing it too and getting their personality out there.
Yeah, and I think podcasts are so much more authentic feeling. Like, because they can cuss and can just be themselves on it, it's way more like you feel more of a connection with them. And like you get like things like Adamas probably wouldn't say in an interview like, I couldn't see anything when I was hitting in Tropicana. Like, that's just not something that would come up in an interview.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Shout out to the Chris Rose rotation. I've been listening to that like whenever they have episodes. I mean, it's a ton of fun just hearing that about players, like hearing their like what you're saying, Myles, like their uncensored versions, like they could really be themselves and like be able to really express who they are and let people get to know them. It's a ton of fun just getting to know the athletes and not having to hear these generic like PR like the PR pretty much already gave you the response you're supposed to say, and they're gonna let you know what you got to say. Allows them to really be more free. So that's pretty much it for the MLB. Unless there's any final thoughts, we can move on to the NBA. Or, with the NBA finals happening right now, we just finished the conference finals. This has actually been recorded after game one has happened, so we'll get some thoughts about that. But before that, you guys want to start with the West or the East?
I'm gonna start with the West. I think it was unfortunate that Kawhi Leonard kept us all waiting to hear if he was ever going to come back, and it was kind of clear towards the end of the series it just wasn't going to happen, because I do think it would have been a vastly different series. It's looked to me like the Clippers could have won it all this year, potentially with a healthy squad. Just seeing that 5-out offense with Batum or Morris at the center, like, it was really something to watch. So all credit to the Suns, but with the fully healthy Clippers team, I think they might have pulled it out.
Yeah, I think they were just definitely the best Clippers squad. I love to slander this squad. Yeah, I'm with Myles. They were a good team. With Kawhi, it would have been probably at least once a full 7 game series. Um, I don't know. I still like the Suns. I really like the Suns, and I flipped my pick for the finals so much that I like the Suns. So I I I agree that it would have been a better series. But even if Kawhi, are we saying like if hypothetically if he came back at some point in this series, would they have won, or if he just didn't get hurt at all?
I think if he didn't get hurt at all, if he came back at Game 5 and he was like 70%, I still think the Suns would have won. But I think like a fully healthy Clippers team, and this will be, we can maybe talk about this later about Kawhi Leonard's free agency, but they're just like a stacked roster, especially when you're paying Reggie Jackson minimum money to play like the best isolation scorer in the NBA. Like it's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, this is why it won't run it back. But I agree. I agree. They probably, if Kawhi was going back to Game 5, he probably wasn't healthy enough to actually do anything. But no way they get Reggie back for the vet man, obviously, after this run. So I don't know what they're going to do. That's the big question mark now is how do you replace Reggie Jackson?
Ballmer gonna have to cash them luxury tax checks if he wants to keep this squad together. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
And they didn't have Serge Ibaka. I feel like people aren't talking about that enough. He's a really good playoff-tested champion, and if you throw him in, then you have like a quasi stretch 5 there. The Clippers could be really dangerous next year if they sign everyone from this team, but that's gonna really come up down to Steve Ballmer's bank account.
I think
Yeah.
he's willing. After this year, maybe if it was like a last year and the first year bounce, or I mean, a first round or second round bounce, but when he was that close and knowing that,
His seat partner's groin.
yeah, that close, he was that into it. He, with this squad, without Kawhi, went to 6, could have done it. I think he'd be willing to cash some checks. So I'm really interested to see if they run this back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Clippers definitely fought, and I like how we're giving the Clippers some love here. I mean, usually like they're the joke of this podcast, and I mean, if we had Omar here, maybe they'd still be the joke.
I
But
mean, they're still a joke, right? Just they had a good run
yeah,
there.
I mean, I know Paul George had like a really bad Game 5. Was it like or yeah, it was a 6-game series, right? And it was
Yeah, he had an up and down postseason in general. Like
I think
he
he had
would
I think he had a bad game 6, the closeout game.
the
oh
closeout game, yeah.
Yeah, but he was really good in the games before that, and he played the most minutes by anyone by a large margin. And not the youngest guy. He's got a lot of miles on him, so I got to give him his respect. He dropped some buckets on the Suns. I just don't think the Clippers could really handle the whole DeAndre Ayton question. Like so many teams are finding, like this dude.
Yeah. I mean, I just very unfortunate for PG. Had a great like postseason, but he's going to be remembered for not being very efficient when Kawhi was out because he was horrible shooting wise when he was out and missing those free throws, which is very unfortunate because like he even in those games where he missed those free throws, he played really well, and it's just so bad that he just couldn't clutch up these free throws.
yeah.
I
I
feel
mean,
like the Suns are just a team of destiny. Quite frankly, I've started to I think Omar put that in the chat or something, and I started to believe it just because all the cards have fallen their way. AD goes out, they face the Nuggets. I mean, I think they have a better team than the Nuggets, so yeah, they should have just completely swept them like they did. I think the Clipper situation, no Kawhi once again. Like you couldn't ask for anything else, and Paul George missing those free throws, and certain calls going their way, and now it's just like with the Bucks series, they match up really well with the Bucks. I think watching Ayton guard Giannis and Jay Crowder, like obviously you're not going to stop a guy like that, but they're holding up. And Chris Paul and Devin Booker just cooking Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, Bryn Forbes. Like it's over when you have the Bucks' worst defenders on them. It's a bucket every time.
Yeah, I would say you forgot one key point. They overcame Chris Paul being Chris Paul and getting hurt all the time. So good for them. They got over the Chris Paul curse to get to the finals. See if they could finish it off. But yeah, that's if we're gonna talk about the final. I guess we could save that. But That's the adjustment. If they don't do that game 2, like Bobby and Brooke can't be on the court for however long they were out there.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we can move on to the East real quick if you guys want to talk about the finals. If you just want to get to that, the Bucks actually managed to win it in 6. So, I mean, really battling through some adversity. Another star going down in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, on just like what looked really bad at the time. It's a hyperextension, and if you've seen his knee, it doesn't look too great. But I mean, he's playing, but the Bucks, we'll get to that right in a minute. But they did manage to beat a Hawks team that looked like they may have been able to upset them. Like they were slated for an upset, but the Bucks pulled through, specifically behind like some big Chris Middleton third quarters in game 5 and 6. So, what were you?
Yeah, they were also looking like the team of the destiny in the East. They were just killing people, and Adam Silver got on the phone and told that ref to hurt Trae Young, and that was the difference in the series, in my opinion, because even in that game, they had a chance until he got hurt. So, I mean, you could say, yeah, then Giannis gets hurt too, so it kind of evens out. But Trae is the entire team, and like you saw with the Bucks, at least that team is good enough with Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, and even Brooke Lopez to an extent to like withstand an injury like Giannis, to losing Giannis. But the Hawks aren't built like that, and it was clear from the entire postseason that they need Trae to at least drop 20 and 10 minimum, and without that, they were done. And it's very unfortunate. Like this whole postseason, we've just seen stars go down. But it's really unfortunate to see that the circumstances behind Trae's injury just being like a fluke accident of just running into refs. But
yeah, I mean that's a brutal way to go out. Like I agree with what you were saying though, Michael. I really did think this was another team of destiny. Like just things are going their way, but I also completely forgot that Trae Young did get hurt in this series, and I mean, it really goes to show you, man, when you have a shortened off season because you want to make some Christmas money. I mean, this is what you're gonna get a playoffs that I think has pretty much lost the most stars like I think we've ever seen. Just star player going down one after another. I mean, it's pretty sad.
I think they said like 10 or 11 All-Stars missed a game in the playoffs. And like that's not including Trae Young, who was an All-Star last year but not this year. So it's just like I totally agree, Michael. This is the problem when you have massive television companies basically owning the league, being like, yeah, you basically get all of your revenue from us. So if you want to play ball, you're going to start early and give us the 72-game schedule. And quite frankly, it was sad to see the players union not push back stronger against that. I think, LeBron came out once, I forget, someone got injured. It might have been Kawhi, saying, this is why I told everyone we shouldn't start so early or whatever. And I think he has a point there. I just would have liked to hear him saying that openly, vocally at the beginning of the negotiations as part of one of the most important members of the league. Quite frankly, without LeBron James, the league is a completely different entity. So I would have liked him to be more vocal about that. But honestly, I think the players also made a business decision too. They wanted that extra cash, and you get that extra cash with more games. So,
well, yeah, they didn't want their caps to drop, so that's just you got to swallow the pill at that point. Like we all talking about how bad the shortened season was, but at the end of the day, if these players wanted to cash in like they've been cashing in, they had to do it. So It sucks, but if like it was their financial decisions or their bodies, and they chose the financial decision, and that just kind of we got to accept.
Yeah, and I think I saw Adam Silver in his press conference at the start of the NBA Finals that he does every year say that revenue for the season was down 33%. So it's like the league is getting pretty squeezed. And I think players recognize they kind of have to make a deal with the devil to try to ensure that their futures are not as restricted in terms of the cap or just their salaries. And I mean, this is what you get when you have to make those decisions under capitalism, though, right? When profit is the almighty god, this is what you get. You get a playoffs where there's 11 guys who get injured. 11 all-stars, not just guys, all-stars.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shame because it ruined what was going to look like a great postseason. I mean, like there are some like even this final series might even be a little bit. I mean, I guess we could get into it now. The Suns and the Bucks are currently going against one another, and the Suns are up 1-0 after game one. Where, I mean, Giannis was playing on a hyperextended knee, and while he didn't seem too bothered by it, I mean, you still probably do know that he's probably feeling it after every time he's running up and down the court. But what were your thoughts after game one, y'all?
Yeah, I think you're right. He's probably still feeling it, obviously. Like, there's no way he's fully recovered. But that man is so brave because if he's feeling any pain, he's not showing it because he is playing his heart out. And mad props to Giannis. You know, this is his future he's risking on that knee. But he is playing like nothing's happened to it. That block in transition, I was just didn't even care. Like if that was me, I'd be like, man, where am I gonna land after I try to block this shot? Like so many things would be running through my head on a hurt knee like that, and he's just balling. Mad respect to Giannis. But in terms of the series, oh man, I'm really interested. Like we were saying earlier, to see what Bud does for these adjustments, because if he comes out with the same lineup, he is an idiot because none of the centers could guard Booker or CP. And if that's just going to happen, you're combined 60 or whatever they got the first game. So I don't understand why Omar was saying in the chat, like, why is Bud still have these guys in the game? And I think that was everyone in the country was thinking this. Or everyone in the world watching the game was thinking the same thing. Like, so if he comes out with Brook Lopez at the 5, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he starts the game with Lopez at the 5 and, like, gives just, the first 4 or 6 minutes of the game to see how it's going. If Booker and Paul are missing their shots and, Lopez is still being guarded by Jay Crowder or someone and can, like, punish them down low, maybe he runs with it. But I totally agree. I think the adjustment needs to be made where Brook Lopez plays, like, most of his minutes when DeAndre Ayton is off the floor, so you can just abuse Frank Kaminsky or Torrey Craig, depending on who that guy is, because the Suns might try to keep it small. Now that Saric is out, unfortunately out for the rest of the playoffs and probably most of next year with a torn ACL, which was really sad to see. You kind of knew when it happened too. He was just reacting really badly to it, and that just really makes your stomach turn seeing a player just go down like that. It's really tough. But I guess we got to move on. There's an NBA Finals to be played. But I agree. I think he's got to figure out how to stop Paul and Booker from just absolutely getting to their spots unencumbered and firing away.
And let's not make it seem like Bud wasn't doing anything. He was trying different things with Brook Lopez out there. It was just Brook Lopez and Bobby had no answer. And, like, that's the real issue for me is, like, what could you do? Unless they're missing their shots like you're saying, there's no answer.
Yeah. He went to Giannis at the 5 in the 4th, and it worked a bit. So I think that's everyone on the internet, that's their thing to say, and I think it's the right thing, just more Giannis at the 5, spread the floor out, give him an open lane, just let the man go ham. So that seems like the adjustment to be made because then you're not – well, the thing is then if you're taking – what's-his-face, Brook Lopez off the floor – you got to bring in Pat Connaughton or Bryn Forbes, and I don't trust them too well against CP3 or Devin Booker. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, they're in a tricky spot. At that point, I mean, they just got to score. That's another issue. They just got to score, and if they're not going to play good defense, they got to at least keep pace, which they kind of did in the second half, but then they just completely lost them. But that's my thing. They got to. Their offense is so streaky. They can't be that streaky. They need to be on their A game all 4 quarters. That's a big ask, but if they're going to play defense like that, that's what they got to do.
You need Drew Holiday to step up. Like, I mean, he was non-existent in that first game. And, I mean, we need more of that Chris Middleton we saw in games 5 and 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, like you're saying, Michael, if they're not going to play defense, you got to be able to put up some points. And it's going to be hard to do that when your other 2 scorers are Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, who have been a little inconsistent in this year's playoffs. So, I mean, it's going to be a very tough finals for them. I mean, it was already going to be tough, but now you also add that your superstar is playing on a hyperextended knee. I mean, again, it's gonna be really tough for them. But what are you guys' predictions for this series? How about the Finals MVP and the overall like games?
I think the NBA media is going to give Chris Paul that Finals MVP.
I'm with you.
If the Suns win. If the Bucks win, I think it'll go to Giannis. You know, the Iguodala MVP is like the one random like occurrence where the best player on the team who won didn't get it. I feel like that's just how it happens usually. But I don't know. I think this first game with the Suns coming out firing and then that third quarter where they built that huge lead, I think it kind of disguises how the Bucks were able to kind of take their punches and stay in it. And, you know, throughout this playoffs, Bud has got more comfortable adjusting. And, you know, I think, who knows, maybe he's got Darvin Ham or some assistant down there telling him, let's do Giannis at the 5 early, like that assistant told Steve Kerr to do Draymond at the 5. Who knows? You know, wacky stuff like that happens all the time. But I would still lean with Suns in 7.
Mike Budenholzer's been a coach in this league for like 30 years, and he still can't make an adjustment. It's just embarrassing. But I'm with Myles. It's going to be CP or Giannis if they win. An argument could be made for Booker if he goes off, but I think the media is just going to be like, nah, it's got to be CP. They win. I think Suns in 6. I think the Bucks will get 2 games where Middleton's on, and they'll take one. They'll take 1 or 2. Middleton and Holiday will be there, and Middleton's going to have like a 40-piece or something, and they'll take 1 or 2. So I think Suns in 6.
All right. Before I give mine, I got some other Aggie Talk members giving their predictions. Will Wyman has said the Suns will win this in 7. He loves 7-game series, so no surprise there. As for Omar, he gave us the Suns will win in 6 because Coach Bud's inability to make adjustments is going to cost them. Brooke is going to keep getting cooked if they keep switching. So a little bit of analysis from some guys who couldn't make it today. But as for me, I kind of agree with you guys on the Finals MVP. I mean, if the Suns do win, it'll probably be CP3, not only because of that media, a little bit of media bias, but also because, like, I think CP3 knows, like, he wants this. Like, I saw someone tweeting yesterday basically saying that he stole a rebound from Aiden that would have gave Aiden the triple-double, and he literally grabbed it from him. So, for all we know, he might just want it really badly. And after a really strong game 1 where he had over 30 points, a 30-point double-double, I believe, I think
he's one shy of double-double. He
was one shy. Well, yeah, very close. So, you know, I think he's hunting for it as well. But yeah, if the Bucks win, I'd probably go for Giannis. I think the fact that he's gonna play, I hope at least play this whole series on one knee. I mean, that deserves its own award. I mean, if we're being honest here, but I'll give my prediction. I'm gonna go with the Bucks in 7. I want to throw some Bucks love out there. I said this when we were doing our playoff preview episode a while back. I said that the Bucks and the Suns would be in the NBA Finals. I said it as a joke because, you know, I thought it'd be funny, but it turns out to be true. So I'll take my W where I can get it. And I mean, let's go all the way. I said the Bucks would win it then. The Bucks are gonna win it now. So
you gotta get that clip put up on the Twitter and show off how you got the prediction right.
I will go do that. That's great about having this all on YouTube, man. We could go look back at everything.
That's really good. I thought Bob had got it right with the Nets, seeing how good the Nets were playing, but great call.
Yeah, he said Nets. I didn't remember. I thought I just when he said like Bucks Jazz or something, but that might have been. I think that was you, Michael. Actually,
I took Bucks Jazz. I'm betraying my own pick because I can't pick the Bucks then. So.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a really good episode if, like, maybe one day we just react to some of our takes. That'd be pretty funny, I feel like.
I don't want to react to my takes. I had Lakers, Sixers.
Oh, yeah, that's the episode where I bet Omar. So I was right on that one. I bet the Suns will make it in the first round.
Yeah, that was insanely bold at the time. I remember, like, even when I said Suns, like, I really didn't think the Suns were probably gonna do
I
it.
don't
I
know.
just
Okay,
wondered.
hold on. We're at the end of the episode. Little rant here. That was not a bold prediction. I thought it was a very safe bet on my part. I was like, there's no way the Suns blow this. With my reasonings were even before the injuries, the Lakers had played like 10 games together as a full team. Like there was no way they knew what they were gonna do coming into that game. Very safe bet. Sorry, Omar.
You're saying
Just,
after game 3, you were a little scared?
no. I knew they had it all the way. I was like, let's go. Easy money.
I mean, I'm mainly saying bold because, like, I feel like if you asked, like, consensus for their opinions, like, it would have probably came out in favor of the Lakers. Like, I feel like 70% of people would probably say Lakers, and like maybe like 30%, like everyone in Phoenix says the Suns, right? Like, but again, you got it right, so I can't really go back on that. Was a good take at the time.
Barring any injuries in the whole year, I think if they played half the year together, I would have probably taken the Lakers. But knowing that they had played basically at all, I took the Suns, and I'm glad I was right, and I'm glad they're still playing. This is a good team, and they're fun to watch. I'm glad Aiden has had a coming out party. He's every series he's looked really good. So
yeah, he's definitely establishing himself. I mean, it's the pick is probably still going to be looked down upon. I mean, compared to the fact you could have Luka, but at the same time, like you could live with it now. Like, just if I don't want to say it's like taking Hakeem over Michael Jordan because it's probably not that extreme yet, but at the same time, it's still respectable. Like Aiden's looked respectable, and he's doing his work job.
no, I did see someone somewhere compare it to the Jordan draft, where like no one's gonna get mad at you for picking Hakeem, right? Like Aiden's still gonna be a great player. Everyone knew that when he picked Aiden. Like Aiden's gonna be a great player, but there's this other guy that's gonna come up that's gonna be potentially a superstar. And then you have at 2, you have the nobody who's not gonna get remembered at all, who's Bagley, unfortunately.
And Sam Bowie, right?
Yeah.
It worked out like perfectly.
Perfectly.
It's crazy.
I mean,
Repeats itself.
good thing Will isn't in here, right? Like, if he heard that.
No, he knows Bagley's going to be irrelevant in like a year or two. So
I feel like he's still on his side, though. Like, he's been trying to hold out hope for Bagley, but even though that's probably.
I will give Bagley the 1 year where he's fully healthy, which will probably never happen.
I think the dude could be good. Like, he just needs to go in a better environment, honestly. I think maybe if he goes to Heat culture or something, like signs a minimum contract with like a good organization like the Spurs, maybe he'll figure it out. But it just, I don't know. First of all, getting drafted by the Kings is just like, it's a doomsday scenario for any prospect, I feel like. And it's like, that makes Tyrese Halliburton being this good that much more amazing, and De'Aaron Fox too, quite frankly. But it's just a sham of an organization. They don't know what they're doing. I think now Monty McNair, I have a little bit more confidence in him. So I think the Halliburton pick and what they do in the draft this year will be interesting. I think they'll also probably trade Buddy Hield this summer just because it's very obvious that he's not really the guy for De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt. I think Tyrese makes more sense. And then you can have Tyrese run the second unit a lot better than Buddy ever would. So there's just getting off on a Kings tangent for our Kings faithful.
Yeah.
We got to cover the local team.
Yeah. And then, but you forgot the most important part, though, is that they kept Luke. So, I mean, the year is already washed.
Maybe they're trying to tank again.
Yeah, they're trying to reach driver license age for their playoff drought. Did you want to say anything about Kawhi free agency? I know you said that earlier, Myles. Is there anything you want to hit on that real quick?
Yeah, I've heard Dallas and the Heat are interested and might make aggressive offers. And to me, I think Dallas is the most appealing destination outside of the Clippers. But I saw like Kevin O'Connor say that Kawhi bought like a multi-million-dollar house right next to the Clippers practice facility like recently. So it's most likely that he's just going to sign the massive deal the Clippers can offer him and stick around. But that begs the question then, does Paul George come back too? How do the Clippers just bring everyone back and say when we're healthy we're unbeatable? Or do they tinker and say, hey, maybe let's try to trade Paul George for Dame or Paul George for Ben Simmons or I don't know, someone, get another all-star to see if that can work better for Kawhi. It'll be interesting to watch. I think there's not as big of a free agent market this year because guys like Giannis signed their extensions and stuff. But it could still be a lot of interesting things happening. I know with my Knicks, I'm looking forward to. There's talks they might pursue Kawhi Leonard. I don't give that any grounds at all. I don't think that's possible. But Kyle Lowry, I'd like that. I'd like him on like a 2-year deal. Maybe to a guy like DeMar DeRozan on a 3-year deal could work. But I think the Knicks, they have a chance to build for the long term here. They've got a lot of young talent on the roster. I'd like to see them kind of play it a little slow this summer, but everyone in the media thinks that they're just going to push the chips in as soon as possible. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely preview that when it comes to the time to talk about some free agency. It's been it's been a fun season. With all the injuries, and I know we kind of were bagging on it again because it could have been a lot better, but it was still enjoyable. And just, after a year of not really having, going after that drought without basketball, having some fun in the bubble to, now at least having a full season where there's actually a home court advantage. It's been fun. We got to, look at some of the bright spots of this season, even if it was a little bit of a mess. So any final thoughts you guys want to get out there before we end this?
I just want to say I think it's really nice that the NBA Finals has only one player in it that's ever been in the finals before, and it's two teams that are notorious bottom feeders in the league. Bucks haven't won one since 1971. Suns have never won NBA Finals, so I think it's cool. These guys, you could see how crazy their fans are going. The Suns arena was bumping. The Bucks, the Deer District or whatever in Milwaukee is always packed with tons of people. I hope they're vaccinated because the Delta variant is real. We got to be worried about that, people. But I think it's nice to see two loyal fan bases in relatively small markets really enjoying their teams playing. Quite frankly, they're playing great basketball too. It's not like this finals isn't going to be entertaining. These are two really good teams, and I think it'll be a great series. And I'm excited to see one NBA faithful team, NBA's fans rather, get to celebrate a championship and for that one they haven't been able to celebrate for a long time.
Agreed, Myles. The small markets, it's always good to see them get. It's not always going to happen, but when they do get it, you can't just help but feel happy for them. Milwaukee's got a little bit of a catastrophe. I guess that'll segue into my final thought. Milwaukee sports, in their football team at least, has a little bit of catastrophe going on with the man behind. In my background, we were kind of talking about it earlier before the recording, but I just want to kind of ask you guys, where do you think this Rodgers situation is going? Me and Michael kind of talked about, how we feel. Or no, me and Omar, we talked about, how we don't, no matter what, we feel like this Packers situation really isn't going to be a win. If you end up having to, maybe, give Aaron Rodgers a contract that wastes your first-round pick on Jordan Love, or if you end up moving on from Aaron Rodgers and, your team's going to be worse. So I just want to know, where do you guys think this situation's going?
I don't know. It's so messy. It was so much more clear before the draft because I was for sure the Niners. I was for sure the Niners take him. And it makes way more sense that way. Packers get the third pick and get to pick someone who's not a quarterback and try to start the Jordan Love era off right. But now I'm just I have no idea. I don't think anybody's going to be happy. No fan base is going to be happy about it. I feel no team's going to be in a good position afterwards. I hope he stays, even if it at the cost of Jordan Love not getting another or Jordan Love pick going to waste, which I always everyone always disagrees with that pick, and I still disagree with that pick. I think he stays, hopefully. I think it's good for the league, competitive-wise. I think he'll get over it and just at the end of the day, he'll realize it's probably still his best situation.
Yeah, I think the Packers kind of called his bluff. I think he went public trying to force a trade, and it doesn't seem like they're going to trade him. So, I think either he comes back and just swallows the pill, and he's got 1 more year or 2 years on his deal.
He's got 2, but they could cut him and pretty much save a ton of money after this year. So it's more like we won. And
Okay, maybe he'll just try to go one more year then and try to find a free agent destination or force a trade next year.
I think they'd have to trade him after this year, or maybe get a little something.
Funny if he wins the Super Bowl, right? Wins the Super Bowl for the Packers, and they're like, all right, how can we get rid of this guy?
I mean, that's the hope, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish they did last year. I mean, instead of seeing Brady hold up his 7th, we could have seen Rodgers hold up his 2nd. So, I mean, that's that. Michael, do you have a final thought?
I didn't check today, but my boy David Fletcher was on a hit streak. So I hope he continued it. I'll have to check that later. I wasn't able to catch the game. Final thought, we didn't get to talk about the Euros. The Euros is going to be interesting. England finally in a major tournament final. Hopefully it'll be competitive. All these past couple games in this round of 16 have been insanely competitive. So hopefully that trend continues. I'm not asking for extra time again. I don't really want extra time again. I'm tired of dedicating 3 hours of my life to soccer. It's too much. But
Yeah.
that I'm just looking forward to the Euro final.
Yeah, I was just going to add a quick thing. Much like the Suns feel like the team of destiny this year in basketball, it seems to be like Italy for some reason. They haven't lost in like 36 matches or something, and they've had like 2 ties in that span. So they've been playing like amazing football. And it's very, very, very exciting to see like the level of play between these teams, like you're saying, Michael. Denmark had this, like, I think 18-year-old just score one of the best free kicks I've seen in a while. You have England just showing off so much skill, and Italy and Spain was another great game. So much intensity, and it went to penalties. But I think just it's encouraging to see all the skill, and it's going to be a great cup final.
100%. Just glad soccer's back. I mean, or football is back. Let's go. Just in case we got an international audience,
It is the game they use their feet in, right?
Yeah, that sport. But it's always good to have good soccer back. I mean, they had to cancel a lot of their international events last year, and just seeing them slowly come back. I mean, World Cup is also going to be pretty soon, right? And that's always a great time to watch some football. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I mean, also Copa America is going on. I mean, Lionel Messi's putting up he's leading Argentina. I'm hoping to see him win that. So, I mean, it's
never won one. He's never won one, and he's going up against Brazil. It'll be a great game.
Yeah, exactly. So, here's to a good summer of some football. Just some of that. Anyways, that's been it with this episode of Aggie Talk. You guys know how we like to end it.
Go
Ags.
Ags.